I'm finding a spot, signed a lease in the middle of COVID. I was absolutely terrified.
Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Daniel Nguyen coming at you from the Logo Domination Show. So today I have a really special guest. She's actually a local near me, right? Her name is Dr. Ashley, and she's a young and talented and super vibrant new dental practice owner now. So I'm here. I'm so excited to catch her at the right time when she just switched full time to her private
Yeah.
practice. So I can't wait to talk to her, and I'm sure you're gonna love Dr. Ashley as well. Dr. Ashley, can you introduce yourself and how did you get started with this whole dentistry?
Yeah, well, first off, thank you so much for having me on. I love sharing my story, so I'm really looking forward to it. Just a little bit about me. I kind of always knew I wanted to be an orthodontist. It's a long schooling process, so you're doing bio classes in undergrad, going to dental school, and then doing residency. So I really just got out of school at 30 years old. I'm 33 now. So my career has been short because I've been in school the majority of my life. And so I really knew that I needed to hit the ground running so that I didn't wake up and I'm 40 years old working for someone else and, life's kind of past me. So immediately when I started and I graduated, no bank is going to give you a loan right away. They want you to have a little bit of work experience. So I went to work for corporate offices. It was actually really sad when I graduated. I thought that I was work for this private practice and have a great mentor and have this just amazing work environment. In dentistry, things have switched to corporate offices. So no longer are single practices really looking to grow with associate doctors. Really, they are, once they're getting to that growth level, they sell out to a corporate. So the industry is changing in that way. And I didn't really realize that when I graduated, there was really only a few opportunities and they were at more of that corporate level. So and there's a lot of corporate offices that consumers are not aware of because they're not branded like Western Dental or some of those perceived less or just not as good offices. They're what we call invisible ones. So there's just a lot. The industry is changing a lot. So essentially, when I graduated, I was only working 8 days a month. And I was super discouraged because I just spent my entire life working up to that point. I couldn't even find a full-time job. And then I finally found enough offices to work at. And then COVID hit. And then I was even more devastated because I was felt so out of control of my life. And so I was like, all right, this is it. I'm finding a spot, signed a lease in the middle of COVID. I was absolutely terrified. And I actually reached out to every pediatric dentist in the area because pedo and ortho is a great duo for business. And I wanted so badly to kind of take this venture with someone else and split half the risk. But unfortunately, no one was really willing to do that during COVID with me. And in the end, I'm happy that I solely took that on because it could 100% be my vision. And I think we've done super well because it's completely been my vision.
Wow. Seems like one after another keep coming at you like surprise. So when you first signed your lease, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced opening your own practice?
I think just you're in school your entire life to be a dentist and they don't really teach you anything about business, right? You don't know what you don't know. And so I was really lucky. I had my dad, he kind of does commercial real estate as a living. And so it was really helpful to have him as a resource with doing my build outs, asking the right questions. I felt like I probably would have spent a lot more money if I didn't have him as a resource. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I personally took out a huge loan. And then I used a consultant, a startup consultant. That's really, really popular with, dental startups. You hire someone to kind of help you through the process because like I said, you don't know what you don't know. So that was really helpful to kind of just make sure that my T's were crossed, my I's were dotted, and I was on a timeline so that I don't know. I just looking back, I'm like, were they really that helpful? I'm not quite sure. But what I do know, and it was worth every penny, is that I slept at night knowing or thinking that I was on this right, momentum.
Yeah, I think like when we do a new project or learn new things, it's always helpful to get some sort of coach, mentor, advisor that have done this before because they're gonna save you a lot of trouble and money in the long run. So I mean, I think like any coaching, any like advisor that you pay for, it's gonna be worth it in the long run. Maybe that we don't know it yet, right? You don't know what are some of the area you could lose money on because those
Yeah.
coaching has prevented you kind of crossing that line. So, what is your like biggest takeaway when you open your practice and then now you showed me like this is your first day full time at the practice. So like talk to me about that journey.
So I'm very fortunate. I feel like most dental offices, we've been open for a year and a half. I think it's quite rare to have a dentist be able to be full time in their own office after a year and a half. And I really have to contribute our growth to social media. So essentially, like 4 months before we opened, I was like, obviously, I didn't really have like this master plan. It was just kind of like, I knew that I needed to do some sort of social media. So, I made an Instagram and I made a TikTok. And this was like before TikTok was like just as big as Instagram is now. There was definitely some dentists on there. There was like maybe like three like orthodontists that were like big at that time, but no like female dentists really kind of taking that route. And I started having some videos go viral. And I was like, oh, like maybe there's something to this. And so I just kept doing videos every single day, not really overthinking it, just kind of whatever came to mind doing. It was super organic. I thought so we were growing like very, very quickly. After 4 months, we had like 120,000 followers on TikTok. And at this point, I was like, okay, I could kind of leverage this following to help me build my business. And so I kind of like met with all of like the really big players in orthodontics to be like, all right, how can we help each other? And so I partner with Invisalign very, very early on. So as a doctor, the cost of like your lab fee, it goes down the more cases you do. And so, people would probably be shocked to know that doctors are paying $2,000 for a lab fee for Invisalign. So that's why, it costs a few $1,000s. That's why, it's not the same cost as Smile Direct Club because we pay about $2,000 for that lab fee. And then obviously the more that you do, you're going to pay a little bit less. And so I was able to negotiate with Invisalign to have the highest discount a doctor can get day one in exchange for TikToks. And so that was like so crucial. I mean, we were saving hundreds of dollars on each lab fee. So that was huge. And then once I kind of secured that, that was like my marketing or that was like my kind of business strategy. So with like every major person that like it costs me money to get things, I make them TikToks in exchange for either free product or discounted products. So that has really like helped catapult us. And then we started speaking for events. And then I think just like from like a patient standpoint, there's when a new doctor comes into town, I'm not like native to this area. So it's not like my parents were from here. We don't have like a family name. Like no one knows who Dr. Ashley Kisling is. Like my name's irrelevant in this area. And so, I didn't have that family legacy of, okay, yeah, all the kids go to her. Like she's finally an orthodontist. So I was really starting from zero with zero patients, zero reputation in this community. And so I think that having a little bit of clout, I guess is the right word, on social media, like it gave us a little bit of a footholding of, oh, like she's somebody already, even though we don't know her in this area, like she's, is working with all of these brands, she's not just this like small orthodontist that doesn't have any experience. So I think that having that following and having all these brand partnerships with these big orthodontic companies really catapulted us and kind of gave us more authority in the area.
I'm so glad that you're sharing that with us, because that's actually my next question about, like growth and marketing. I think like this is my first time having business owners on the podcast. That's absolutely crushing TikTok. Most people would say, what is a TikTok, right? What is that, right? Is that a kid thing? But I'm so glad that you're able to kind of like monetize your TikTok following and making business growth. So, what are you doing any other like marketing in any channels at all to help to grow your practice?
Do you mean social media or just other marketing strategies?
Yeah, like other marketing strategies that you kind of implement and add on to your TikTok stuff.
Yeah, so we do a lot of different marketing. The biggest thing is community events. So, not only do I want them to see me on their social media feed when they're scrolling, I want them to see my face. So, our area has farmer markets. And so, when we first started off the first year, we were doing like 2 to 3 community events a month. And I was personally at every single one of those because the people want to meet the doctor. If we're starting a thing and I'm the face of it, then my face needs to be there. And honestly, I think my face will always be at these community events. I see a lot of other competitors and they send their staff to do it. And while that's important, the for orthodontics, you're buying 2 years of treatment with a particular doctor and their skill set. And so I think it's really important that you remain the face of your company and that you are there to answer questions and to make people feel like you care and you want to be in the community, you want to be there shaking their hands, things like that. So community events are really, really big. And then two, because I'm on the other end of it and I'm kind of like a doctor influencer, I also work with influencers in the community to help our practice. And so, when I first started off, I kind of thought that the number was most important. Like, oh, like let me work with, we're currently working with a Real Housewife of Orange County. And I was like, oh, they're going to bring in so much business. They have so many followers on Instagram. Like everyone knows them. Well, what I didn't realize is that they probably have a huge following like nationwide, whereas like how many people in Orange County is actually following her. I mean, it's still probably a lot, but what I found what was most important is maybe like redirecting that and like not working with an influencer because they have a like high following, but instead like finding I like deemed them as like community leaders. So who is someone in the area that is influential? Like, is it a PTA member? For me, it was this dad. He puts on these community events for the neighborhood, like completely for free on his own dime. Like he just does this out of the goodness of his heart. So everyone in our community knows who he is. We actually have like a community magazine, and that's how I found out about him. He was on the cover, and I was reading about him. I was like, I need this guy in my practice. So I emailed him and I was like, I will treat both of your boys for free for you just to come in. Like, you don't even have to endorse me. Like, come in, like, please just meet me, see what we're about. And if you love us, like rep us. And I'm pretty much done with, I think I'm done with one of his boys. I'm still currently doing one of his boys treatment, but I mean, literally he's my biggest fan, reps me all the time. And he has single-handedly brought in more people than a Real Housewife of Orange County with maybe, a few hundred followers on Instagram. So don't get caught up on the number. Find someone of influence in your area.
Wow. I love that. Like, go nugget. I don't know if you guys are listening to this, but that is so go, because influencer marketing for the low market is absolutely the newest marketing strategy to win in your local area without pay ads, right?
Yeah.
And I love how you approach, your community leaders and influencer, and you just reach out and you ask him, hey, I would love to do your kids work, and in exchange you don't even have to rep me. Like, that's crazy. Most people say, well, you have to do this for me, you have to post for me, right? But coming from a like authenticity, and coming from person to person, you just let them know, hey, look, I would love to serve you, and if you love us, rep us. That's like
Yeah.
so sick. And I love that you're like doing that. And I think like if you continue to reach out to more community leaders, more groups in your local area, like you're pretty much gonna get all the local referrals, right? They're all gonna talk about Dr. Ashley Kisling, right?
Yeah.
So thank you so for sharing that. That was really good.
Thank
And
you.
and then that was like so relevant right now in this day and age because there's always new thing, right? But I believe that this is going to be the best ROI that
Mm,
anybody can do to your business right now. So, like my as we're approaching, to our final questions, I want to ask you one last question is,
yeah.
as you're growing your practice now to full time, right? What is your like most challenging when it comes to like growing your practice right now?
It changes by the week, but it has been up until I finally feel fully staffed. But, life happens. So who knows if I'm going to feel that way next week. But staffing is the biggest issue right now post COVID. And not a lot of people have wanted to go back to an 8 to 5 job where they physically have to go into work to make a paycheck. People have realized how many other ways that they can make money these days online, their side hustles becoming their main hustle. And now, like, it's, what we pay dental assistants, they're in there anywhere from low 20s to high 20s based on their experience. And, they can go to Target and be a manager, or they could go to a fast food place and be a manager and be making that same amount of money without any education. And dental assistants, it requires certificates, redoing CE. Like, you can't just be a dental assistant. There's education, there's certificates, all these things cost money. So I feel like the biggest hurdle right now for all dentists in the industry is how do we compete with these huge companies that are offering signing bonuses, a lot of benefits. And so, my strategy is just treating my staff like gold. And the minute that they come into our practice, I hope to just retain them because, at the end of the day, we do spend the most time with the people we work with more than our families. And so maybe you can make an extra dollar here or there somewhere else. But I strongly believe in work-life balance. And I think that if you create this culture within your team and your staff, people are going to want to stay even if maybe they could get a dollar or two somewhere else. So, we're still in our infancy. So, I haven't had a lot of people come in to understand that this culture is being built, but I finally feel like we have this full team. And so I'm hoping that they, see what I'm doing and want to stay based on how I make them feel.
Well, first of all, congratulations on, having a full team by now. It is a struggle for all businesses right now across the country,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
hire and staffing, right? Because, you're right. Amazon is paying $26 for a warehouse and, my McDonald across the street is paying $20 an hour now, right? So, we're competing with like, major corporations now to attract talent. However, with that being said, um building a company culture with your leadership skills and your attracting the right people to work for you, right? Because a lot of time I feel like people come work for you not just because they get a paycheck. A lot of time it's like they believe in you, they trust you as a leader, and they want to follow you and help you grow the practice. Now that's the most important thing. It's like when I'm hiring for my own company, I want to make sure they believe in the mission and vision and core values of who we are and what we do here, right? And even though the pay are somewhat competitive, like I don't know, mid 20s, right? For like a
Yeah.
regular job nowadays. Even though it's a couple bucks less than, I don't know, another big company down the street. But over here, we have an awesome culture. We love our people and we love serving our clients. And it's always fun at work. So
Yeah.
I think like just being unique and in your own way at your practice,
Yeah.
building a following, a culture, and then doing community events and inviting your staff to come out, like, hey, coming out, enjoy the community event with me. I think that's really like bonding time, but really, very strong bonding time. So I'm so glad that you're finding success in that, I would say, area of hire. Now, the last question is, what are your top books that you've read or some podcasts you listen to that you can recommend to our listener?
Yeah, so I'm going to be the first to admit you cannot make me read a book after 30 years of studying. Like it feels like studying, so I just like will not. But I do love podcasts. And so for the dental field and for orthodontics specifically, Orthopreneurs has been like my number one podcast I listen to all the time. And so that is like, orthodontists and then entrepreneurs. And so it's really good just practice management style things that you're just not taught in school. That's one that I listen to every single time it comes out.
Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing with us, your secrets, your tips. I think we learned so much already on just having a couple conversation with you. Well, thank you all the listener who tuned in today, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.